Welcome to the fall in New Hampshire 2020, and this is an apple grinder and an apple press which I put together this year. And as you can see, this is a food disposal system, and here's a bucket, and this cloth I'll use for pressing, and the press is here, and I'll give you a little demonstration of how things are put together.
Works pretty well. You have to be a little careful about it getting clogged up, so I try to keep it clear. And if the apples are really big, then they don't quite fit through there. Okay, so I take a little bit of cider at the end just to clean it out.
So I take the cloth and fold it and press it down like this, and then I have 5 pieces of cloth, and then I have boards in between each one. So this is what I do. I have this cloth here, and then I take it out of the bucket, and then I just try to square it up to my basket here. This is sort of a combination of what they call a cheese, where you stack these layers of mash, and on these smaller scale ones, oftentimes you see the basket with just one big piece of cloth, which is not as efficient as doing a cheese with layers like this. And then this block goes on top here. And I like how I made this with these sticking out here, so I can have lots of space to stick it in and then slide it into the middle. This is based off of the design that someone who has a place called Planet Whiz Bang, or the Planet Whiz Bang cider press, and you can actually buy a book that will give you a design very similar to this. And I didn't buy the book, but I did buy the cloth from him that I'm using to make the cheese, and I use, what I saw of his videos as an example to make this. And he also does the same type of grinder system with the food disposal thing, but he actually does it a little bit more fancy, because the grinder system can overheat if it's used too aggressively. And this is basically it. I use this to slowly do the jack, so you're not pressing it too much. And I thought you might like to see what we're doing. I've pressed over 100 gallons this year with this press, and I'm pretty happy with it. It's definitely a small scale, sort of more home scale press. It takes about 2 bushels. I used about 2 bushels of apple to make this much mash, which gives me, no, did I say 2 bushels? I said 1, I meant 1 bushel. I used 1 bushel of apples. I have these boxes that I have are about half a bushel each, and so I used a little over 1 bushel of apples to make this much mash, and it makes 5 or 6 gallons of apple cider, which I think is really efficient, because they say usually you get 3 or 4 gallons per bushel. And then I like to I usually, especially if I'm giving the cider to somebody else, then I heat it up to 160 degrees in order to pasteurize it. And that's the fun here in New Hampshire with the apples and cider. Enjoy.